What's up, guys? Back in me about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Season 1, Episode 5, Never Kill a Boy on the First Date. Okay, so this episode starts off with Buffy fighting a vampire and knocking him out, and then the Master shows up, who, actually not, he doesn't show up, but then we get to the villain's lair, and the Master's like, the anointed one will rise and kill the Slayer. So yeah. So Giles is like telling Buffy about how this like anointed one, I think his name is anointed one, will like rise and kill her, and there's like there's like this prophecy and all this stuff. When Owen comes in and it's like, hey Buffy, and he's like, hey, she's looking for Emily Dickinson and a book on Emily Dickinson, and yeah, and they kind of hit it off. So then we see Willow and Xander, and they're like talking about it, and they're like, whoa, what was he into? What was that old guy into? She's like, we're talking about Emily Dickinson, bro. And yeah, yeah, and then he asks, and then he does ask her out, but when she goes to the bronze, yeah, there's this whole scene where they're talking in the lunchroom, and when Cordelia decides to be mean and makes Buffy drop her lunch and and talks to like Owen and yeah, but Buffy sees them together and sees them dance, and Buffy's kind of not mad. He's like Buffy's like, Cordelia is really grabby. And he's like, we go out with me again? She's like, sure. But, yeah. But then these vampires kill 5 people, except for one boy. Yeah. Except for one boy, and what? Yeah. So, yeah. So then they're at a funeral home, and yeah, and Giles is getting Giles is getting like yeah, and he has always this beeper that says no info. So that's when Cordelia decides to make her move, and it's like, hey Owen, do you want to dance? And he's like, do you see me? I'm dancing with Buffy, and she's and that's when Angel shows up, and Cordelia's kinda into Angel, but she sees Angel and Buffy together, and she's like, why is it always her? So Angel comes in, and he's like, something bad's about to happen, Buffy, and Buffy's like, wait, what, dude? Why do people keep trying to tell her this? Because something about the anointed one, prophecy, blah blah blah, and that's her words, not mine. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, and that's when Willow and and Xander come say they try to say, oh yeah, this is a double date between us, and they try to say it's a double date between them. And yeah, and they're like, and they're like, Owen, you gotta stay here. And he's like, Buffy. And he's like, you know those 2 parts of me? The one that you said there was 2 different parts of me? He's like, yeah. One really has to do this, and the other part really wants to stay with you. So please stay here. But obviously, he doesn't listen and decides to go anyway before saying to Angel, Buffy's strange. She's the strangest girl. Anyway, he decides to tag along, and yeah, and Buffy and Giles are like, attacked by not attacked, but they find and and he's like, yeah, and he's like, and Giles is like, what's Owen doing here? And he's like, he kind of tagged along, and yeah, and then Owen's like, OMG, and she's like, someone's hand moving, and that's the vampire. That's the person that the vampire attacked, and he starts saying about how how that the master filled him with a song that he sings and that about he's gonna drain their blood and all stuff and yeah, so Buffy, hunts him down. Yeah, so Owen gets knocked out, but Buffy thinks that he killed him. So she's like, "You killed my date," and I'm like, "Oh no, not Owen." But then they're like, Buffy and Owen just reawaken, and then they beat him up. Yeah, and then at the end of the episode, it is revealed that the kid that was saved is the real anointed one. Yeah, a child is the thing that Buffy cannot stop. Yeah, and Buffy kind of lets Owen down, saying, "Yeah, bro, I know that I get why she lets him down because she has a job too. She has to slay vampires. Like she thought she could go out for a normal life, like have a normal life with a normal boyfriend. It may work on Sabrina Teenage Witch, where Sabrina's a witch, where she can have a normal life. But Buffy, she has an actual job. She has a job. She has like a job to do, and basically says, Owen, we can be friends. And Giles says that when he was 10, his dad was the Watcher, and his mom was the Watcher before him, and he basically told him about a tiring speech about responsibility, and Buffy's basically like, yeah, she's the Slayer. And if she continues dating Owen, he could get himself killed because he's Danger Man and he wants danger. So if she continues being with him, he could get himself killed or she could get him killed. And that basically, and yeah, that's why she can't date him. And yeah, as I said, Buffy's like, we stopped the Anointed One, and then Giles is like, yeah, Giles is like, yeah, the Master's probably having a bad day. Until it's revealed, as I said, that the kid that was saved on the bus is the real Anointed One, and he is the one thing Buffy cannot stop. Basically ending the episode. Okay, so the episode was really good. It was a really interesting episode. I really enjoyed this one. Really enjoyed this one. It was a really good episode. And yeah, so I get why Buffy can't have a normal life, because she's a slayer. She has to slay vampires. So yeah, so anyway, like, comment, subscribe. Hope you guys have a wonderful night, and I'll see you next Buffy the Vampire Slayer.